In the kingdom of Carrara, the citizens were living in constant fear of a monster that attacked relentlessly. The creature was known to attack 3 times a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once at night. Despite their efforts, the mechas built to fight the monster were insignificant to the creature. However, one day, Sonic arrived. He controlled a blue mecha with the same appearance as Sonic, and his blade cut through the monster like butter. The creature retreated, giving the citizens enough time to build and improve their mechas. But Sonic had gone to confront the monster once again. When his mecha returned, it was Tails who sadly informed the team that Sonic was dead. The team did not tell the public about it, for Sonic had not died but had transformed into the second monster. The first monster, Vanquish, had been replaced by Sonic. The monster Sonic attacked the kingdom walls, and the mechas managed to fight it off if they got there on time. But Sonic's mecha was nowhere to be seen, and the monster Sonic effortlessly defeated all the mechas. They refused to give up and kept fighting, and Sonic's mecha soon arrived. The creature was significantly harder to beat, but they managed to fight it off, and the monster Sonic retreated, wounded. Then, with a cold tone, Sonic's mecha began pointing out how terrible each person was in their mechas. All of them stayed silent, and then Sonic's mecha turned its head to a red, tiny mecha that resembled Knuckles. Sonic's mecha began harshly telling the unknown figure inside the mecha how terrible he was. Amy had finally had enough and defended the figure. Sonic's mecha argued back, claiming that Knuckles was sitting in the second most powerful mecha in the kingdom. Finally, Sonic's mecha turned away and harshly dismissed the group. But Amy asked, "Where were you?" Sonic's mecha replied, "I was patrolling the kingdom like I always do every damn night. Now go and train." Mecha Sonic then walked away. Mecha Sonic continued to walk away, and we finally saw the figure who piloted it. It was a hooded figure who appeared to be human, with long black hair and a full beard. It was none other than me. I walked to the castle and now overlooked the whole kingdom. I sighed, feeling the weight of responsibility on my shoulders. As I looked out over the kingdom, I wondered how Sonic could handle the weight of all the lives lost. It must have been a heavy burden to bear, to be the one responsible for protecting the kingdom and all its citizens. I could only imagine the pain and sorrow he must have felt every time he failed to save someone. It was a reminder that being a hero was not an easy task, and it came with great sacrifice. But I knew that I had to step up and continue Sonic's legacy, for the sake of the kingdom and all its citizens. I suddenly took out my binoculars and pointed them towards the front of the kingdom. I saw the kaiju and quickly sounded the alarm. I ran to Mecha Sonic to pilot it, but the monster had grown significantly stronger than the previous time. The battle lasted until nightfall, and the mechas were heavily damaged. Despite their efforts, the monster Sonic managed to break through all 3 walls of the kingdom. But I did not want to go down with a whimper. I wanted to go down fighting. So, I grabbed my blade and charged at the monster, swinging my sword horizontally and slashing the monster's chest. The creature roared in pain, and I quickly jumped up and kicked it in the face, sending it tumbling to the ground. But it quickly got up, and I tried to throw a punch, but the creature slammed its fist into my mecha's stomach, sending me flying towards the wall. Before I had time to recover, the creature was ready to swing another fist at me, but I managed to catch it. I used my other hand to punch the monster in the face, and then I got up and grabbed my sword. I slashed the monster's left arm clean off, and the creature retreated. I was too exhausted to pursue it. But I ignored my exhaustion and pursued the monster. I managed to catch up with it and jumped, kicking it at the back of its head. I landed on the ground, and the creature recovered instantly, smacking me with its right arm. But this time, I was ready for it, and I dodged. Then, I jumped and super punched the creature in its face. The creature put its step to stop itself from falling over sideways. Its left arm regenerated, and it made it into a fist and slammed it into my mecha's stomach once more. But I used my jetpack to evade the attack, and I used my sword to stab it in the chest. The creature elbowed me in the face, and I was sent flying again. But this time, I used my sword to stop me. I stood up, and my mecha's eyes glowed blue. I tightened my grip on my sword and gave it a few test swings. Then, a storm rolled up, with lightning coming down and striking the ground from time to time. My mecha's eyes continued to grow blue, and the creature had already healed its wounds. We were staring each other down, knowing that this was the final battle. I was finally going to vanquish the beast that had attacked my people for so long, and I would free the people of Carrara. I charged at the monster, and the monster did the same. I could swear there was boss music playing in the background, but it could have been my imagination. I suddenly punched the monster in the face and managed to put a foot on the ground and push myself backward, avoiding a swing from the monster. I walked towards the monster, looking cold as I walked. I ducked under a punch from the monster and used my sword to stab the monster in its eye. The monster let out a roar in pain, but I didn't want to hear it. I punched the monster and then kicked it in the face, sending it tumbling backward. I still stood there, basking in the glory of finally defeating the monster that had terrorized the people of Carrara for too long. Lightning struck behind me, illuminating my mecha's silhouette. I lifted my sword up to the air, and my grip got even stronger. The noise of metal scraping against metal was very audible. I turned on the sword power, and a hum could be heard as it grew louder and louder. Then, I raised my hand back down, and I charged at the monster once more. I jumped before the monster could swing at me and landed on the ground behind it. I stabbed the monster, and a hum could be heard. The monster suddenly burst out roaring in agony, and then I pulled the sword out. The monster tried to elbow me again, but I dodged it. I quickly got to the front of the monster and grabbed it by its neck. Then, I punched it repeatedly, and it fell to its knees, its body shaking out of control. As I punched it, I finally stopped and picked up my sword. I was ready to stab it in its face. I said, "Your roars of pain could not hold a candle next to all the lives you've taken, the families you've torn apart, and the dreams you've crushed. Nothing you do will ever hold a candle to what you've done. No matter how vast this world is, it will never be big enough for the both of us to coexist. One will stand, and one shall fall." And then I asked, "Any last words?" The creature simply growled weakly, unable to respond. I knew that this was the end. I raised my sword high, and with all my strength, I plunged it deep into the monster's face. The monster let out a final roar before falling to the ground, lifeless. I stood there for a moment, looking at the monster's body, feeling a sense of relief and satisfaction. Finally, the people of Carrara could live in peace, free from the terror of the monster. I raised my sword to the sky in victory, and the people of Carrara cheered, finally free from the monster. I felt a sense of pride and accomplishment knowing that I had played a part in freeing the people from the beast's terror. It was a long and hard-fought battle, but it was worth it. Finally, the people of Carrara could live their lives without fear, and I could rest knowing that I had done my part in protecting them. I sheathed my sword and walked away, knowing that I had avenged all the lives lost in Sonic. I made a promise to myself to always protect the people of Carrara for as long as I lived. I would do so with all the strength I had, no matter how strong the enemy may be. I would keep fighting, no matter what. As I walked away, I knew that there would be more battles to come, but I was ready for them. I would never forget the sacrifice of Sonic and the lives lost in the fight against the monster. I would honor their memory by continuing to protect the people of Carrara, no matter what challenges may come my way. The end.